Welcome to the Filmistines, a double featured podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films for further discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my chivalrous friend, Lucy. Knight Lucy, excuse me.
Excuse you. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
I guess I should refer to you as Sir, right?
Sir Lucy, that would be.
Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with brand new episodes of the Filmistines. Some recent episodes include Godzilla x Kong, 2005's King Kong, 21 Jump Street, Superbad, and the new 2024 Monkey Man. Is there an old Monkey Man? I don't really know, but the recent one, the Dev Patel. Shout out. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. And come subscribe, come request a movie, come write in, whatever you want, I'll read it here.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at hempvillecbd.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing a very special movie, David Lowery's 2021 film, The Green Knight, with Dev Patel and friends. I just wanted to start off by saying that this is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. Beautifully shot, beautifully colored, beautifully composed. And I'd like to say that's of no surprise because the ghost story is similarly beautiful. But Peter Pan and Wendy, or whatever it's called, not good. This movie's been on my radar since it came out. I can't believe it's been 3 years, but the wait was worth it. I think this is a phenomenal movie. I love the deconstruction of the knighthood, and I love the humanizing of a potential knight, a knight in training, so-called training. I know you're not the biggest fan of the ghost story, or a ghost story, whichever it is.
Yes.
That's a favorite of mine. So I'm very curious how you feel about another David Lowery film. You're 2 for 2 on the shit scale, I think, with him.
Oh, we're about to be 3 for 3 unless you can convince me. But I'm right there with you. I really enjoyed the visual language of this movie. I loved the lighting. I loved how it looked. I loved the style. I loved all the textures that were brought into this movie, especially with the Green Knight. Although, I guess, I don't know if you include the text or like the title cards, whatever you call that, where they're introducing maybe characters or what's about to happen here. I don't know if you include that in the visuals because the whole movie is the visual, but whatever. But I did not like that. That was the only thing lacking. And maybe that's on me because that was just really hard to read. And, I'm not used to reading that kind of text. If it's not, Times New Roman or whatever, simple text, it's hard to see it. So maybe I'll dock it a point or two for the visuals on that. But everything else was fantastically beautiful, really well crafted. And I even liked some of the abstract and surreal elements that this movie had. But that's about it. The story was not great. The pacing was not great. Our main character, his acting was good, but the character himself was not great. And most importantly, and maybe this is just a big miss of mine, the lesson that we're supposed to learn from here was either so simple or just completely went over my head.
All right, there's a lot to unpack there, and I don't think you're totally off base, maybe in its simplicity. And having problems with the structure might just be the nature of the kind of lesson learning, tribulations, trials of what we expect someone like a knight to go through, or a potential knight to go through. You have to be on board with the legend of it, the just straight up story of it, and I guess the inevitable 5 virtues of the knight. Well, I guess, first of all, are you familiar with the 5 virtues that ultimately define honor?
I'm pretty sure I could maybe guess them, or maybe have an idea of what they are. You know, there's enough out there for someone to be oblivious, but I guess I'm not super familiar. I couldn't, explain it to someone else. Let's say that.
You can identify the chivalry without, being able to maybe tell you about the details, right?
Yeah, I could make a C on the test, but can't tutor anyone on it.
All right, so don't want to get too lectury, but we have generosity, courtesy, chastity, valor, and piety. I guess it's worth asking too, how do you feel about the quest-like format of storytelling?
I thought a lot about that because I was trying to debate if that was my problem here. I know one of the films I compared it to, having watched somewhat recently, I guess, that I didn't like, and it fit that whole kind of journey, epic story, was maybe The Northman. And I did not like that movie at all. So I was thinking maybe I just don't like those types of movies. But I don't know, because I'm very big into honor, honesty, good, beating evil, all this world building, a lot of costumes, a lot of props, and having a big, clear lesson to be learned out of this. That lesson is typically very simple, but so big. I don't know how to describe it.
No, I totally feel you, and I think...
So I like all that. So I don't know. I don't think that's my problem.
Sounds like you'd be a little bit more of a fan of the original work, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight from the 1300s. It helped define what that epic quest, very linear structure looks like. There's lessons to be learned at every pit stop. I compare this a little bit more in my head to The Wizard of Oz.
I love The Wizard of Oz.
It's very linear, and we have these trials and tribulations and kind of like side questy things.
Yes.
And it's all on the back of the Legends story. It's so widely known that every city, every culture, every people have their own interpretation of it. They have their own exaggerated forms of telling it. And here we get a more literal telling because we're with Sir Gawain. Let us not forget, he took magic mushrooms. Helps kind of ground the situation we've set up for ourselves.
Does it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I can't remember the exact order of things, but he stops on the battlefield, deals with that kid who's in the Banshees movie. Love him.
That's where he's from.
Yeah, love
Okay.
him. I love his cadence. He's a weird little dude, and
yes.
he's excellent. I hope he's in many things to come. We see them sort their things out. We see him come across an apparition's house, goes after a head, little nice side quest, comes across a fox, finds a mysterious castle that's got weird, very familiar people. The daughter is his girlfriend. The blind woman is obviously his mom. And the lord of the castle is obviously the Green Knight. So it's weird similarities and obvious ones. And then, of course, we've got the Green Knight himself and the fox and whatnot.
The boss fight.
Yeah. And I guess before that, we have our initiation into who this future knight is, right? He wakes up. We get this beautiful long shot that kind of pulls away, and we see Sir Gawain there. Hardcore reminded me of The Witch. Funny enough, the mom and dad are here. I was like, that's weird. I was like, what? There's such a similar kind of tone. And realism, I must say. We immediately bring a element of humanity to this character before we even know he's a knight, especially if you're not familiar with the original story. You don't know what this character really is all about. You don't know how, like, so-called real we're setting up this knight who's after these traits to become honorable, to become a knight.
Did we set that up, though?
We set up his humanity, yeah.
Just that he's a human?
That he's hungry for achieving this. He's dogmatic. He's...
When he cuts the Green Knight's head? Is that when we're supposed to know this about him?
He's brash. Yes, he's not a knight. There's nothing knightly about him, right?
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, but...
So he has this kind of conflicting motivation with his true self.
Okay. I guess I can see that. Because I also get vibes that I don't know what he wants. And it's not really until the end when it clicks more on what he wants. I feel like it wasn't very well established in the beginning of the movie. Unless you're familiar with the whole... It's like you had to have done your homework before the film and after the film.
Not quite. Because this journey is not the journey to become a knight. It's the journey to learn what it takes to be a knight. He's learning the hard lessons of what it takes to be a knight from the legends he's heard about, right?
He's being forced to do these learnings.
Sure.
So that's what gives me the vibes of this character doesn't give a fuck about anything. I mean, from the start, we see him.
There's an important element of him doing what he's just supposed to do. Some kind of expectation, right? We still face this day in, day out with all kinds of people. A big one right now is people going to college. For what reason?
No, yeah, I understand that. But I don't think it was very well established that he even cares.
He doesn't. That's his humanity kind of confronting this thing that he thinks he wants to do. I guess it's more along those lines that he thinks he wants to be a knight, when in reality he maybe just wants to get married to Essel and start a family, have a regular city job, not be at the king's side.
Yeah, and I'm saying that clicks at the end, all the way until the end. That clicked for me.
And I think that's fine.
I just feel like everything clicked at the end of the movie. So during the whole movie, I was pretty confused and slightly bored.
Well, the bored thing's not great, but it clicking at the end and being confused throughout, not necessarily a bad thing, but the boredom is maybe a you problem, maybe a David Lowery problem. It's hard to say.
It might be more of a me problem because people really like this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty loved. And so the obvious things happen. We go through this very linear quest. He learns that he's not super generous. He's not super smart. He's not super agile. He does a task and asks for something in return. He's sexual. And most importantly, he's a coward.
Yep.
And the story's told in such a way that you can imagine, and we get kind of depictions of it, that it's told through the grapevine, that it's hundreds of years old already, and it's being told in this really magical way. He comes across bandits, gets beat up, survives. He meets a ghost, saves her head, is about to starve, finds an apple tree, finds this mysterious castle, faces the Green Knight, and wins. Right? The story is already out of control, especially when we get to the mysterious castle, that people are already writing songs about it, right? Of course, that was at his mom's fabrication, so it's hard to take it at 100% fact, but so is everything else in the movie, and it's really not the point. Him taking the mushrooms helps justify some of the wild visuals he sees, right? Helps deconstruct the legend itself and bring some, not like realness, but reality. And then he faces the Green Knight, is a coward. His life flashes before his eyes, which I liked. I thought was really fun. And then he finally learns something in the process at the very end, which is no doubt silly, which we get a little bit of a taste from the Lord and the mysterious castle. It's the best line in the movie, most important line in the movie. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he says something along the lines of, why? To his quest. It's an important part, because it's all nonsense. The chivalry code, the knightly code is. the stories are. And then we get a somewhat ambiguous, really not ambiguous ending. And you didn't like any of this.
No. Some of that stuff just wasn't clicking with me while I was watching it. Maybe I felt a bit too confused. I wasn't sure where we were headed with this character. Not to mention that some of this medieval stuff is kind of boring. It bores me. I'm not going to watch this movie on purpose. I'm not going to watch this movie for funsies. I'm never going to watch a movie like that for funsies. I don't know. Maybe I was missing some action. Like, at least in The Wizard of Oz, someone's fighting somebody. Like, there's more action sequences. Maybe I was missing some more of this character being developed, not so internally, not so his thoughts, his struggles, his morals.
Hence why they hired Dev Patel, because he's all eyes.
Yes, exactly.
Which we learned in Monkey Man.
But I also don't know, because I also like that stuff in other movies. I'm all for the internal struggles of a character. I don't know. I don't know what it was about this movie that just wasn't clicking with me.
Maybe it requires a second watch.
Maybe it requires a second watch. I don't know if I would give it a second watch, because I just wasn't understanding a lot through it. But then when I finally understood some things, I just was like, okay, you confused me this whole time just to give me this.
What did you start to understand? What was it?
Because I was, figuring out, okay, this dude's not honest. He's not brave. He's always given into his vices. He's just awful, pretty much, for a knight. He's not killing people on purpose, or, not that kind of awful, raping, whatever. But he's just giving in to what you shouldn't be given into.
He's not a knight.
He's not a knight.
You don't love that contrast and challenge within him?
I didn't know he wants to be a knight. I wasn't with him on that. I wasn't with him on his struggles.
Yeah, if you're not sold right off the top of him, it's not that he doesn't want to be a knight or does want to be a knight, that it's just expected. And like you said, he was kind of forced into it one way or another because he's family.
Right. And his mom cursed him, or whatever that whole shit was. That game, I don't know. I'm still confused on that. Was it a game? Was it a curse? Was it mama meddling so she can get her son to be what?
I think that's playing up the whole nonsensical nature of going on this quest to prove yourself. And it climaxes with the Lord of the Mysterious Castle saying, well, why are you doing all this? What's the point? And Gawain's like, I want to be a knight. It's what we do. It kind of deconstructs the whole like natural honor that comes with this profession or mindset. It completely obliterates like these preconceived notions around a type of individual,
Yeah.
Like, let's take cops, I guess, for example. In your mind, you should believe cops are people who want to help other people and defend other people who can't defend themselves and want to solve crimes, right? But there are cops out there who are obsessed with their power and corrupted and take advantage of X, Y, and Z. Probably not nearly as many as the ones who want to be this for-hire hero, right? I would imagine those would outweigh the corrupted ones. But when you think of a knight, you do expect this element of class and will do anything for their people.
You at least expect consequences. And it didn't seem like he was having any consequences until he has this flashback. And then it hits him like, oh shit, there are consequences to me not giving a fuck, or to me not being good, or me being scared, whatever. But the whole time I was like, okay, where are your consequences to your actions? This is the type of movie it is.
And that's when it kind of derails from being stuck in reality and just the story. He got attacked by these bandits who stole all of his crap, and they just ran away. I mean, he just slugged over to a sword and got free and stuff. And it helps kind of deflate the story, because in the story, he killed the bandits. In the story, he was helped out by a god or or some kind of spiritual animal, something, something wild. You can see in the story that, before he sees that fruit tree or whatever, when he's hungry, he's not the hungry one, but the fox or his companion is the hungry one, so he's finding food for that one, right? But in reality, he is hungry. He's not above being hungry just because he's on his way to be a knight, kind of thing. So it kind of deflates some of the bigger than life story that comes around the story of a knight who goes out on a quest. And there's no doubt this weird magical element to this world that helps and hurts it maybe in some ways, because you would expect maybe because it's a magical world that there would be even crazier consequences, but he doesn't get a lot of consequence. But just like the end, whether you think he died or not, it's not what's important. It's the lesson that he didn't learn. It's what's important.
Right.
So you gotta...
That's what I'm saying. It clicks at the end.
Okay.
It clicks at the end, but the whole time. What do you just want me to lay there until the end, David?
I guess it's a definite double watcher for you. It's funny.
Because it also gave me a Christmas Carol vibes, where the ghost of the future, whatever he's fucking called, shows him this is what your trajectory of life is. And then that's when the person, Scrooge, is like, oh shit, I need to change my actions. I need to, be a better person, whatever, so that doesn't happen to me. It gave me those vibes, which is where that simplicity comes in. And okay, you put me through all this just to tell me that he kind of learned his lesson, because I don't know if he did. It might have just clicked in that moment before he's dying, and then he's back to...
Well, that's all a story is, though. So we definitely have to take him at his word at the very end, and that he learned something.
But the whole time, he's so not reliable that I don't know if I'm going to believe him. Maybe I need to trust my character a little bit. Now I need to trust him that he's a knight and he's going to be honest.
Well, that's also kind of the point, right? Because he's a knight in training. He should have been trustworthy from the very beginning, but he never was. And so, you're not supposed to be rooting for this guy. He's not a hero. We know that immediately. He's too human. It may be a little bit of a turnoff, right?
Yeah.
He's scared in the beginning. He's not happy. He spoke with the king, King Arthur, about whether or not he should do this. You don't think I should actually go, do you? And King Arthur's like, well, yeah, it's going to be good for you, son. Which I love that King Arthur was, in a similar way, treated like a human being. He was old. People didn't bend over backwards for him. He got sick, right? He was in bed, and he was in his nightgowns when he knighted Gawain during his flashback, right? Or flash forward, I guess. There was an element of human there that I like a lot, and helps kind of sell the reality of it and deconstruct the perceived royalty and just godlikeness between these people. Because it's really kind of a switch and bait too, because in the beginning when they're having their meeting at the round table, it's very big and loud. You got all these guys around. The king and queen are at the center, and the Green Knight comes in, and it's just a very, I don't know, Game of Thrones kind of moment. And then it immediately becomes silly with the game. Does it take itself too serious? Maybe, but so does the knight. So I don't know. It's a funny thing, and the Lord at the end, in the mysterious castle, asking why it all matters. Why does it matter to Gawain? Just confirms, what I was feeling the whole time. In the story of becoming the knight, the application of it doesn't prove anything about you. It's just an assembly line thing where, can you even trust it? And of course not. It's all of the knights across all time are humans, and they all deal with the human condition, which involves being a coward at times, caving to sexual desires at times. We didn't even mention his piety. Does he even believe in God? That's fine if he doesn't, but can he be a knight without that? I'm not sure. So I think your feeling the right kind of frustration, actually. But it sounds like it may be having a hard time justifying why this movie is the way it is.
Yeah.
Because my frustration that bothers me a little bit is, why is his mom doing this? Why is his mom initiating this whole quest?
I don't know. I don't know why half of what happened in here happened. I don't know why some of these characters are even in this movie. I don't know the importance of half of these people in here. I don't even know their names.
Yeah, I don't either. Arthur, King Arthur.
That's it. The Green Knight.
And Guinevere, I guess, was his wife, right? The queen. Did Gawain die at the end or not?
I think he did. But who knows?
I think he definitely didn't, because of what the Green Knight said in his little smirk. And what he said in the beginning in returning the favor with a decapitation or a nick or whatever. He made it seem like it's not going to be equivalent to whatever was given to him.
Oh, I thought he made it sound like it was equivalent to whatever you do to me, I'm doing to you.
And then at the very end, he says, now, off with your head, implying you may leave with your head. But obviously it can go the other way, famously, right? From Alice, and maybe somewhere else, but definitely famous because of Alice. I'm going to cut your head off. But he smirks, and then he said, off with your head, sort of playfully.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing that kind of is living with me, and I can't quite place my finger on it, is when Gawain's looking at the camera, I think, and says, I'm ready. It feels very fourth wall-y, and I can't tell what that is about. There might be a moment of him kind of speaking to God in that moment. That's where his piety comes in, maybe. He's not speaking to the Green Knight, he's telling God, I'm ready to die. Ready to come see you. Not selling it for you, man?
No. No, you're not selling it. Because there's so many things here that are just like, why did we need to be told this way? The beginning, I get. The end, I get. But the whole in between, I don't get. What's the point of the fox? What does the fox represent? And the whole point of the forest where he gets tied up and with the bandits, and the girl that he saves her head from the lake, and at the end with the lord and the lady, those just went on a bit too long to show us that he's not a knight. And the giants, I guess those were just the shrooms. Alright, cool. That's maybe what took me out so much of the movie, that I didn't get to enjoy the rest of it. The why this is even happening. Why did David Lowery decide to give this version of Sir Gawain? Especially that last one. And it seems like that was the most important one, with the lady and the lord and them looking like other people in his life. I know that's important, but it just went over my head. Especially when he told him, like, I'm gonna go hunt for 3 days, and whatever I give you, you must give me in return in the castle. Like, what the fuck? And then they kissed at the end. It's like that literal. Like, his wife, his lady, whatever she was, gave him a kiss, so he needs to return the kiss. But then there's so much more that went on, but he's like, I don't know. It's like all that just for that. The lady giving a big speech about colors and hues, and giving a comparison to death and life and afterlife and what happens to us and all that. Like, it just seemed, I don't know, like excessive. I don't know. It just seemed like it was confusing me. But it's like, I get it. I understand the metaphors, the lessons, or not lessons, but just something wasn't clicking with me. The way it was told, all the middle meat was just not clicking with me. I will say that one of the visual props, which I believe is very important, but maybe that's just me getting something out of it, was the little spinning wheel that's supposed to represent all the seasons, thus representing 1 year, and how we didn't really get anything from his year that he spent, that he should have been training for, in my opinion, but whatever.
He's not a knight.
Yeah, he's not a knight. And just that representation of how fast life can go. And maybe it hit home a little bit because of how fast these years seem to be going, and just humans being humans, wasting time, wasting life away, giving into all these temptations and, not these things that we should really be focusing on. Maybe not as chivalrous, but not as lazy like Sir Gawain had been this past year, and really honing in on how just scared we are as humans, scared to do things or scared of the uncertainty of our lives. But then that's it. I didn't really take away a whole message like I like to take away from my movies. But I really like that. I really like that visual representation of it in a kind of disturbing way that I wasn't planning to see something like that and take so much from it. I took more from that than I did his little quests.
And there's no doubt something to say about that, because it just begs the question of why the quest, which we literally get thrown in our face and his face, and the wear and tear on you may have just been maybe too much. And I disagree with what you kind of said in the beginning about it humanizing him, because I think you're seeing that, but it is a little off screen, I guess. It's internal and kind of placing yourself in those shoes a little more than showing us what he's doing instead of being in a knight,
Yeah.
Is he working at the tavern, cleaning tables?
He's not doing anything.
No, he's not doing anything.
No.
But no matter what, if he wasn't being a knight and he's operating in this town, it knocks him down a peg of being that legendary figure, right?
I guess.
Because the wheel even tells us this story, if things don't change, he cut the knight's head off, year goes by, knight cuts his head off. Nothing in between. And if he had a scribe there, writing his stories, a really literate, poetic scribe, he would either lie about what Gawain's doing, or he would cut out all of that middle part because he didn't learn anything. He can't. What is the scribe going to do with this nonsense? You just got captured by bandits and they just left your ass.
Exactly.
And they're not capable. You're not capable. Like, what? The scribe's just like, I'm just going to scratch that out. We have that almost great moment with Gawain. It's that middle section with the apparition where he retrieves the head and describes, scribing it down, right? He's like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. You're going to learn something here, aren't you, Gawain? And then he asks for something in return. That's not what knights do, man. What's up? The fuck? We had a good chapter going. I don't know, maybe it's just a kind of polarizing thing where if you're not humored by the lack of knightliness in him, it doesn't have much more to offer, and it really doesn't. Other than the Dev Patel performance, which is, awesome.
Yeah, that can only take you so far.
It's true, yeah. With as little writing as there is with him, nothing real performative coming out of him. Which is kind of funny because he's very majestic looking. He looks like he could be a really great knight, right? Great contrast to his lack of knightliness. All right, man. Well, I'm sorry I put you through this movie, but thank you for watching it with me and talking about it here today.
You're welcome.
Do you have a budget guess for me?
Yeah, my budget guess is $45 million. It looked good. There wasn't a lot going on.
But he was on the move.
He traveled several places. We didn't have a lot of characters, and honestly, we didn't have the best costumes for this timepiece like I would have liked. You know me, I like my big, dramatic, royalty-looking things.
It's just another element that helps.
Yes. It helps solidify it for me for sure when we have these big things in a story like this, in an epic that's part of the epic, the drama, the extraness that I think was missing here for me, not necessarily for the movie and what the movie's trying to say. So we didn't have any of that, so maybe I might be on the high side, but it looked too good, so I don't know.
Well, it says here that it was 15 million.
Holy shit.
I know.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Especially this not being his first, second, or third film.
And it only went on to make $18.9 million.
What?
Didn't make anything.
Why? COVID?
I didn't think about that. Yes. And it's an A24 movie, so there's no telling how few theaters it went to.
Oh, yeah. Probably a combination of both. Because it's really, really well liked from what I saw in reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
And all these like fan theories, and oh my god, it was crazy. The amount of love for this movie baffles me. Fan theories on just the ending, you know, how ambiguous it is, and interpretations of it and stuff. Just, it baffles me.
Well, the original text is super, super loved.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said earlier on. That's why I think this movie maybe requires a little bit of homework before and maybe after you watch the movie to truly, truly get it.
Yeah, I did see a lot of people say it's weirdly challenging because it is simple. Simple premise, simple through line, very linear.
Yeah, but Monkey Man was also very, very simple. And that movie was balls to the wall. Crazy.
That's true. Well, over on Letterboxd with 515,000 people, they weighed in at a 3.7.
Wow.
Sounds about right.
That's yep.
Just with the love in the air.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 2. I'm open to revisiting, watching it. Maybe not anytime soon. Maybe my brain still needs to grow up a little bit more. Maybe I need to watch other medieval movies to make me appreciate them. I don't know. Something needs to happen here. Or I just didn't like this movie like that.
I mean, not everything's for everyone. That's fine.
That's true.
Matrix, kind of bad. I'm leaning on a 3.5.
Whoa.
I don't think it can hit that 4 for me just because it doesn't speak to me enough. Because what I love most about the movie is its visuals. It's insane looking. It's might be the most beautiful movie I've ever seen.
And that's why it gets a 2.
Shut up. Well, thank you again for watching this movie, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with new episodes on patreon.com/Filmistines, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts. Rest in peace. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon as well. Come right in. Come request a movie. Come subscribe for $1, $2. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon, at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines, signing off.